it took was one game for the Angels to kind of implode. So not only did they blow the lead against the A's, but Anthony Rendon was throwing haymakers. Okay, not really. It was kind of just a, I'm trying to grab your hat.
Got your hat.
But yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about that. We also have a really cool comeback story brewing with the Diamondbacks, and Lance Lynn, yeah, he's back to being Lance Lynn.
The story that you want to tell.
Oh my God, some breaking news. Juan Soto has just been traded to the Guardians. I had to do it. I was either going to title this video something crazy or I was going to do some stupid skit. So you're lucky I didn't clickbait you.
You say? Yeah, you called me John. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, mother. Calm down.
Now, before we recap all of the games from yesterday, I do want to talk about that Anthony Rendon situation, because apparently what happened is that Anthony Rendon heard this fan calling him a bunch of different names throughout the game, but not only Anthony Rendon, apparently that same fan was calling Shohei Ohtani a gift to the earth, a angel himself, like an actual, not just an Angels player. Shohei Ohtani is in fact an angel. He's a saint of a human. Any fan that curses that guy out, yeah, he deserves to get punched in the head. Okay, let me go ahead and take 2 steps back. I am not condoning violence. I understand people who are saying that Anthony Rendon is in the wrong, but also I feel like fans are able to get away with a lot because baseball players are held to a higher standard. They're supposed to be role models. Just the whole idea that you can buy a ticket and immediately curse out someone's family or call them names, it doesn't make sense to me. So good for Anthony Rendon and sticking up for his team. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like his teammates are going to see that clip and then they're going to get fired up. The Angels, they might win 10 in a row. Now, 2 quick contract stories before we get into the recaps from yesterday. Gary Sanchez already is back in baseball. He inked a minor league deal with the San Francisco Giants. Now, there is something to remember. He can opt out if he's not promoted by May 1st. So he has exactly 1 month from today's video to earn a spot on the roster. Now, there is a guy, I think his name is Blake Sabol. There's also Joey Bart. I'm not entirely sure if Gary Sanchez is going to make the major league roster, but if he does, I could see him actually hitting triples alley fairly often because he does like to hit the gaps. He would be a match made in heaven in San Francisco. It's just defensively with that pitching staff, I would have some big time issues unless they want him as a DH. The Padres infinite money glitch continues. I remember when they traded for Yu Darvish, then they gave him an extension. This was after Fernando Tatis Jr. got his extension. Then Xander Bogaerts got a fat deal. Jake Cronoworth is joining the party. 7 years, $80 million. That is a bargain deal, but he's also 30 years old, so that's why he's not getting Andres Jimenez money. Jake, 7 years, $80 million to stay with the Padres, a team that traded for him. If you don't remember, he was on the Rays and he came to the Padres in that Hunter Renfroe deal once upon a time. He basically has a career 120 OPS plus. He can play any position on the field aside from catcher, but even then, I feel like if you told Jake Cronenworth to go out there and catch, he could probably get the deal done. Good for the Padres, good for Jake Cronenworth, and now let's talk about the actual Padres game. Listen, I don't know who the Rockies think they are, but they need to cut it out. Just kidding. This is actually perfect for a point I want to make. Kyle Freeland, he was out there looking like prime Cliff Lee, and honestly, all of the players that participated in the World Baseball Classic, they're actually performing pretty well out the gates. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because the World Baseball Classic is a better warm-up than spring training, so they're looking better. I mean, it makes sense, right? Do I have the stats to prove it? No, but Pete Alonso and Kyle Tucker, they're also looking pretty good as well. They went yard yesterday. We'll talk about those 2 guys later on in the video. Chuck Nasty, he is looking to have a renaissance season at 36 years old. That's a 2-run blast as he starts the season 5 for 9, so he's hitting like 533 or something crazy like that. Kyle Freeland, he held the Padres to just 3 hits over 6 shutout innings, and newcomer Pierce Johnson, a former Padre, he saved it versus his old club. Now, you might be wondering, Pierce Johnson, why is Daniel Bard not in the game? Well, that's because Daniel Bard is actually on the injured list right now for a non-physical injury. It's all in his head right now. He's on the IL for anxiety. Now, if you're brand new to baseball, or maybe you're just unfamiliar with Daniel Bard's story, years ago when he was a top prospect for the Red Sox, he was highly touted as the next big thing until 2013 when something called the yips took over. The yips is basically either something that happens to your thoracic outlet syndrome where your arm just physically cannot throw baseballs for strikes anymore, or it's all mental where you just think that you suck all of a sudden, you have completely lost confidence, and that is exactly what's happening all over again to Daniel Bard. because of the WBC. Now, for all the good things that happened in the WBC, we lost Jose Altuve, we lost Edwin Diaz, Daniel Bard, because of that blow-up performance against Jose Altuve and Team Venezuela. He's out with anxiety, and as someone who suffers from anxiety and depression, I am rooting so hard for this guy. And also, never be afraid to open up and kind of say, I'm not doing well, because it's okay to not be okay. I just want to tell you guys that. But if you had the Rockies winning back-to-back games against the Padres to begin the 2023 season, congratulations, because you might be Jesus himself. I don't know how you predicted that. All right, let's go to the other games from yesterday. The Mets and the Marlins faced off, and every single run in this game was scored via the long ball, which is always fun because
chicks dig the long ball.
Jorge Soler, he took some notes and he blasted off, and you got to tip your cap to Jesus Luzardo of the Miami Marlins because he worked around 4 walks to go nearly 6 shutout innings. Jesus, he is one of the nastiest pitchers in baseball, but that command is still a question mark. Either way, he was able to kind of skate around it. David Peterson of the Mets, another lefty, he was fantastic as well. He only allowed that home run to Jorge Soler, but there's the game winner. One question for you guys. You like Jazz? That's why he's on the cover of MLB The Show. Such a pretty swing to the second deck. He is one of my favorite players in baseball, and it's really not even close. Pete Alonso, he tried to rally the troops with a home run of his own, but AJ Puck, he was able to save it and close the game out. The Astros and the White Sox faced off. Lance Lynn and Chicago, they were straight up bullying the Astros for a solid hour, probably an hour and a half.
The story that you want to tell.
Eloy Jimenez and Yoan Moncada, they're looking ready for a great season. And again, both of those guys, they played in the World Baseball Classic. They're warmed up and ready to go. Now, speaking of a World Baseball Classic warm-up, Kyle Tucker looks primed for another MVP caliber season. 440 feet off his Team USA buddy, Lance Lynn. Yordan Alvarez, he looks locked and loaded as well. He clears the bases to save Houston from the jaws of defeat. Was that cringe to say? Jaws of defeat. All right, I gotta work on my script skills. Anyways, the tallest second baseman in Major League Baseball history, I think he is, Adam Hensley. He is 6'6". He brought in one more in the 8th inning for Houston as Rafael Montero. He closed it out. The Astros, they win 6-3. We have the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. D-backs fans, sit tight. I promise you this game is gonna end well, but I really want to nerd out about Dustin May for a second because he was feeling himself yesterday. And good for him as well. He's basically still recovering from Tommy John surgery. He threw 7 shutout innings in front of the Hall of Famer, one of the best pitchers of all time, a Dodger legend, Sandy Koufax. Now, the Diamondback staff, they matched Dustin pitch for pitch. Merrill Kelly and Dre Jameson, they combined for 7 shutout. Oh, never mind. Mookie Betts, he leaves everything. And you know that one Eminem song about mom spaghetti, something about having one shot, one opportunity, and one moment? Yeah, Kyle Lewis, he did not let it slip. He launched a 2-run pinch hit home run off of the disgusting Alex Vesia. Vesia, over the last 2 seasons, 94 innings, he has a 2.19 ERA, so that is not supposed to happen, but Kyle Lewis, he is him. That Andrew Chafin free agent signing is already paying dividends. He notches his first save in a 2-1 victory over the Dodgers, and good for the Diamondbacks. They look really good on paper, at the very least underrated. If you're a Mariners fan, I'm sorry, but you are going to straight up lose brain cells by watching the highlights of you facing off against the Guardians from last night. Okay, we're just going to show them right now. Look at where the madness began. Andres Jimenez, he bunted for a base hit, so that is Guardians baseball. And then there's more Guardians baseball. Miles Straw simply put the ball in play and he let baseball do its thing. Teoscar Hernandez, he catches it and he throws an absolute seed to home plate, but it hits the runner Mike Zunino on the shoulder, so it ricochets, and then another run is able to score. Later on in the 4th inning, Stephen Kwan, he doubled in 2 more, so he now has 3 RBIs on the day. Scratch that, make it 5 RBIs for the leadoff hitter of the Guardians. He singles in 2 more for a career-high 5 RBIs. Ahmed Rosario and Josh Naylor, they put the finishing touches on a game where they scored 9 runs without a single baseball. At least I watched the entire game. I did not count one single baseball hit by the Guardians to the warning track. Everything was dink and dunks, but that's what the Guardians do best. And now with the new rules, I feel like they play perfectly into the Guardians style. Stolen bases, bunts, they're going to be flying all over the place. I wish this was an April Fool's joke, but that is today's recap. There were only 5 games from yesterday, so I tried to throw in a few extra things like the Rendon thing and Gary Sanchez and Jake Cronoworth, but that does it. Make sure you guys subscribe because we have a recap coming out every single day. Catch you guys in the next one, and be safe.